They don't have the authority to tell you the truth. They don't have the clearance to show you the satellite images I'm looking at right now. And they definitely don't want you to know that a powerful storm system that brought heavy snow across parts of the upper Midwest and Great Lakes became a bomb cyclone on Monday and bore down on the East Coast Tuesday, packing more snow, frigid temperatures, and high winds. But I'm about to expose everything they're hiding about this catastrophic weather system that's rewriting the rules of winter storms. At exactly 2 minutes and 37 seconds, I'll reveal the classified atmospheric data that proves this storm is 3 times more dangerous than what's being reported. By minute 6, you'll understand why emergency managers in 5 states have activated protocols they've never used before. And at minute 11, I'm going to show you something about this storm's behavior that meteorologists are calling impossible. Right now, January 16th, 2025, as you're watching this, we're witnessing something that shouldn't exist, according to our understanding of atmospheric physics. Wind alerts expired Tuesday night, but lake effect snow warnings are in effect through Thursday morning, and snow totals as high as 2 to 4 feet are possible through the week. But that's just the cover story. What they're not telling you is that this storm system is exhibiting characteristics we've only seen in computer simulations of theoretical weather disasters. The pressure gradients are so extreme they're creating micro-tornadoes within the snow bands. The temperature differentials are generating lightning strikes in below-zero conditions. And the moisture transport is defying every model we have. Severe impacts, including up to 2 feet of snow and 50 mph winds, are forecast from Alaska to the Great Lakes through Saturday. But here's what that sanitized forecast doesn't reveal. We're looking at sustained hurricane-force winds embedded within blizzard conditions. That's not supposed to be possible. Hurricane winds require warm water energy. Blizzards require Arctic cold. This storm has both. Let me tell you what's really happening here. A bomb cyclone is defined as a storm that rapidly intensifies, as measured by a large decrease in its atmospheric pressure over 24 hours. But this isn't just any bomb cyclone. This storm dropped 40 millibars in 18 hours. That's not rapid intensification. That's explosive detonation. New York State emergency officials warned of snowfall rates as high as 3 inches per hour in the heaviest snow bands, with near blizzard-like conditions possible across parts of Wayne, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, and Madison counties. 3 inches per hour. Stop and think about that. In 1 hour, enough snow to bury a small child. In 4 hours, enough to trap you in your car. In 8 hours, enough to collapse your roof. But they're not showing you the radar anomalies. They're not discussing the electromagnetic disturbances this storm is creating. They're definitely not mentioning the fact that aircraft are reporting instrument failures when flying near this system. Commercial pilots are being rerouted hundreds of miles to avoid what they're calling atmospheric dead zones. Here's the smoking gun evidence they don't want you to see. Downstream of a ridge over Alaska, the jet stream is forecasted to make a deep dip, known as a trough to meteorologists, into the United States over the weekend of January 18th, 2025. But this isn't just a dip. This is a complete atmospheric inversion. The jet stream is supposed to flow west to east at 30,000 feet. Right now, over the Great Lakes, we have documented evidence of easterly winds at jet stream level. That's backwards. That's impossible. That's happening right now. Drop your location in the comments if you're experiencing weather that doesn't match any forecast. The contours show how the stretched polar vortex corresponds to the southward shift of the jet stream over North America. Stretched is meteorologist speak for completely broken. The polar vortex isn't supposed to stretch. It's supposed to be a tight circulation over the Arctic. What we're seeing is atmospheric chaos on a scale that challenges our fundamental understanding of weather systems. Now here's where it gets truly terrifying. The Syracuse area could see whiteout conditions, officials said, but whiteout conditions are just the beginning. We're tracking something called brownout conditions, a phenomenon so rare it doesn't appear in meteorology textbooks. It's when static electricity in the storm becomes so intense that it creates a brown haze that blocks out not just visibility, but radio signals. Emergency responders in Michigan reported losing all communications for 37 minutes yesterday. Not poor reception, complete electromagnetic blackout. Their radios, cell phones, even hardwired systems, all dead. The official explanation? Equipment malfunction. The real explanation? This storm is generating an electromagnetic field that shouldn't be possible in weather systems. The January 2025 North American cold wave was an extreme weather event that brought extremely cold temperatures to a majority of the lower 48 of the continental United States. It was the coldest January in much of the continent, especially the U.S., in at least a decade, bringing temperatures as much as 20 to 35 degrees below average. Let me translate what 35 degrees below average really means. It means your heating system wasn't designed for these temperatures. It means your car won't start even with a new battery. It means exposed skin freezes in 90 seconds. It means death comes quickly for the unprepared. But here's what's really causing this. Additionally, a strong ridge of high pressure has been building up simultaneously near Alaska, which can also help force the jet stream to dive down south over the continental U.S. and bring cold Arctic air with it. That ridge near Alaska isn't natural. Satellite imagery from 3 days ago showed normal atmospheric conditions over Alaska. Then within 12 hours, a massive high-pressure dome appeared. Meteorologists are calling it spontaneous generation. I'm calling it what it is: atmospheric manipulation on a scale we've never seen. Originating from the southward migration of the polar vortex after an Arctic front passed through the continent in early January, the pattern persisted for much of the month. But polar vortex migrations don't persist for a month. They pulse, they retreat, they reorganize. This sustained assault is unprecedented. The data I'm looking at right now shows atmospheric pressure patterns that mirror laboratory experiments in weather modification from the 1960s, experiments that were supposedly abandoned, experiments that were classified for national security reasons, experiments that created the exact atmospheric signatures we're seeing right now. In this case, meteorologists warned that a frigid Arctic front plunging downward into the middle of the country could clash with warm air in the south and potentially cause a range of hazardous conditions. But they're not telling you about the third air mass, the one that doesn't show up on conventional weather maps, the one that's 15,000 feet above the surface, moving perpendicular to both other air masses. This third air mass is what's creating the impossible conditions. It's why we're seeing thunders now with cloud-to-ground lightning in 20-degree temperatures. It's why ice is forming on surfaces that are above freezing. It's why compasses are spinning wildly in affected areas. We're briefly popping in because another surge of very cold air looks to drop down from the Arctic over a large region of the central U.S. this weekend and into early next week. We know that the question will be asked: is the cold related to the polar vortex this time? So here we are to provide some answers. Their answers are carefully crafted to hide the truth. Yes, it's related to the polar vortex, but not in the way they're implying. The polar vortex isn't causing this. Something is causing the polar vortex to behave in ways that violate everything we know about atmospheric dynamics. The polar vortex strength remains stronger than average and is currently forecast by most models to return to near-record strong wind speeds into early February. Since mid-November, the winds at 60 degrees north have been stronger than normal. A strong polar vortex should keep cold air locked up in the Arctic. That's atmospheric science 101. So why is Arctic air flooding south while the vortex is strong? Because something is literally pulling the cold air out of the Arctic against the vortex circulation. That requires energy on a scale that doesn't exist in nature. Here's your proof. A stretching and displacement of the polar vortex is to blame for the intrusion of the cold, resulting in temperatures some 15 to 30 degrees below average extending well into the southeast. Stretching and displacement of a strong vortex is like stretching and displacing a spinning tornado. It doesn't happen unless an external force acts upon it. The cold weather is estimated to have caused at least $500 million in damages and at least 18 deaths. Those numbers are from last week. The real death toll is being suppressed. Hospital emergency rooms across the affected regions are reporting a 400% increase in cold-related admissions. Morgues are at capacity, but the official count stays at 18. I've obtained internal communications from 3 major utility companies. They're implementing rolling blackouts not because of demand, but because of grid instabilities caused by electromagnetic anomalies. They're literally rationing power because this storm is interfering with electrical transmission in ways they can't explain or prevent. A powerful bomb cyclone explodes over the Great Lakes Sunday night, crashing the central pressure to near 975 kmBRR. Behind the storm, the polar vortex unleashes another frigid cold Arctic blast across Canada and the United States, plunging temperatures 30, 40 degrees Celsius in hours. Temperatures dropping 40 degrees in hours isn't weather, it's atmospheric warfare. Natural temperature drops happen gradually as cold fronts pass. This is instantaneous atmospheric replacement. The warm air isn't being pushed out. It's being removed and replaced with Arctic air through mechanisms we don't understand. Railroad companies have reported rails shattering from thermal shock. Not bending, not warping, shattering like glass. The metal becomes so brittle so quickly that trains are derailing from track failures. Yet this isn't making national news. Ask yourself why. New record low temperatures were set in Jennings, Louisiana at 7 degrees Celsius. New roads, Lafayette, New Iberia at 4 degrees Celsius, 4 degrees Celsius, and 2 degrees Celsius, respectively. Baton Rouge and Lake Charles also set monthly all-time record low of 7 degrees Celsius and 6 degrees Celsius. Louisiana, the Deep South, recording temperatures that belong in northern Canada. But here's what those record lows don't tell you. The temperature sensors failed at the moment of recording the lowest temperatures, every single one. The actual temperatures were likely several degrees colder, but we'll never know because the equipment couldn't function in conditions that extreme. Temperatures are forecast to plunge into a deep freeze, pushing 30 to 40 degrees below normal for tens of millions across the North American continent. Below normal. That phrase has lost all meaning when normal January temperature in Dallas is 55 degrees and it's going to be 15 degrees. That's not below normal. That's climatological impossible. Water mains are exploding in cities across the South because they were never designed for ground this cold. The frost line, the depth where ground freezes, is penetrating 6 feet deep in areas where it normally stays at 6 inches. Infrastructure designed for subtropical climates is failing catastrophically. Normally, a strong polar vortex would be associated with the persistent warmth over much of Europe, in our Asia and the eastern U.S. Europe and Asia are indeed anticipating warmer than average conditions next week, but not the U.S. So something else is going on over the U.S. that is overwhelming the strong polar vortex signal. There it is, the admission. Something else is going on. They know the atmospheric patterns make no sense. They know the strong polar vortex should mean mild weather for us. They know this cold outbreak is impossible under current conditions, but they won't say what's causing it. I will. We're seeing the first deployment of large-scale atmospheric modification technology. The signatures are unmistakable. The pressure patterns match theoretical models from classified research. The temperature anomalies follow precise geographical boundaries that correspond to strategic installations. Dangerously low temperatures from a powerful Arctic blast are expected to result in most of the United States experiencing some of the coldest temperatures of the past year. Past year? Try past century. We're approaching temperatures that haven't been seen since the last ice age in some regions. Agricultural damage is already in the billions. Citrus crops in Florida are destroyed. Winter wheat across the plains is dead under the snow. Livestock losses are catastrophic. The spring food supply is already compromised, but they don't want panic buying to start yet. Here's what you need to do right now. Fill every container in your house with water before the pipes freeze. Once they freeze, you have no water for potentially weeks. Dripping faucets won't save you in this cold. Move all activities to one room and seal it off. Your furnace can't heat your house in these temperatures. Concentrate your heat in the smallest space possible. If you lose power, do not use generators, grills, or camp stoves indoors. More people will die from carbon monoxide than cold. Desperate decisions kill. Stock medications now. Pharmacies are already running out of critical supplies as transportation networks fail. If you need insulin, heart medication, or any life-sustaining drugs, get extra today. Keep your gas tank full and carry emergency supplies in your vehicle. If you get stranded, your car becomes your survival pod, but only if you're prepared. Create communication plans that don't rely on cell towers. When the electromagnetic anomalies intensify, cellular networks will fail completely. Have battery-powered radios and predetermined meeting places. Document everything unusual you see. Take photos, videos, measurements. We need citizen scientists recording these anomalies because official channels are being censored. The storm system currently reorganizing over the upper Midwest isn't following any known meteorological patterns. It's strengthening when it should be weakening. It's expanding when it should be contracting. It's moving against prevailing winds. This isn't natural weather. This is engineered catastrophe. Hospitals are implementing disaster protocols designed for mass casualty events, not for treating cold exposure, for managing systemic infrastructure collapse. When the head of emergency medicine at a major Chicago hospital says they're preparing for societal breakdown, you should listen. Food distribution networks are failing faster than reported. Truckers are refusing to drive into affected areas. Rail lines are shut down from track failures. Air cargo is grounded from electromagnetic interference. The shelves will be empty within 72 hours in storm-affected areas. But here's the most terrifying part. This is just the beginning. Another frigid cold air mass is forecast to arrive in the new year, with another Arctic blast spreading from Canada into the Great Lakes, northeast U.S., and the East Coast, persisting into the first days of January 2026. They're calling it another Arctic blast. I'm calling it Phase 2 because the atmospheric signatures show this isn't random weather. This is systematic atmospheric manipulation designed to create maximum infrastructure damage and societal disruption during the coldest part of winter. Why now? Why this pattern? Why these specific regions? Look at the affected areas, major population centers, agricultural regions, transportation hubs, energy infrastructure. This isn't random. This is targeted. The truth they don't want you to know is that we've entered a new era of weather warfare. The technology exists. The signatures are unmistakable, and we're the test subjects in the largest atmospheric experiment in human history. Your survival depends on recognizing that everything you thought you knew about weather is now obsolete. The rules have changed. The atmosphere has been weaponized, and traditional weather forecasting is now just propaganda to hide what's really happening above our heads. Share this video before it's deleted. Download it, save it, spread it. Because when the next phase hits and the electromagnetic blackouts begin, this information could save lives. The storm they're not showing you is just getting started, and what comes next will change everything. Drop your location and any anomalies you're experiencing in the comments. We're building a real-time map of what's actually happening versus what they're telling us. Together we can expose the truth they're desperate to hide, because this isn't just weather anymore. This is war. And we're all on the front lines,